In this video, I'm going to go through the IXL skill complete a function table, and this is for quadratic functions. So we want to complete the table, and it will give you the function at the top of the table. So our function is a function of s. So our input is s, and it is equal to -3 times s squared. So we're going to input these values of s, and we will calculate the output for each given input. So first input, we're going to let s be -2. So we're going to have our function evaluated when s is -2. So where I see s in this function, I'm going to substitute in -2. And please substitute it into parentheses. So this is going to be -3 times s squared. So where I saw s, I now have a set of parentheses, and we will input -2. Because -2, s is what is being squared. So -2 times -2 is +4. So I'm going to multiply +4 times -3, which is going to give us -12. So when our input is -2, our output is -12. All right, let's try evaluating our function when s is -1. So we're going to do f of -1. And I like to set this function up where we saw s. I'm going to have a set of parentheses, s squared, and s is -1. -1 times -1 is going to give us +1. So we have -3 times +1, which is -3. All right, 0 squared is 0. I'm going to write this out really quick. So f of 0, we have -3 times 0 squared, which is just 0. So -3 times 0 will give us 0. And then last one, we have f of 1. I'm going to do this one kind of off to the side. So when s is 1, I am going to have -3 times s squared. Where we saw s, I like to put a set of parentheses. This time we're just going to put 1 in there. And this is -3 times 1 again, which we've actually seen before. Still just -3. All right. Ooh, let's try this one. So we're going to complete the table. F of c equals c squared plus 2c. So there are two spots where our variable is. I'm going to write this out. F of c equals c squared plus 2c. And we have four different inputs, -2, -1, 0, and 1 that we're going to try again. So let's start with -2. So we're evaluating our function when c is -2, and I like to rewrite this where we see a c or a variable will have a set of parentheses. So we have c squared, or parentheses squared, plus 2 times c. So we'll put a set of parentheses there as well, and then -2 will be filled in to both parentheses. And now I can use the order of operations to simplify this. -2 squared is -2 times -2, which is +4. So we have +4 plus 2 times -2 is -2. Or wait, -4. 2 times 2 is 4. And then it would be negative. So 4 plus -4 is what we get when c is -2. And if we add 4 plus -4 or 4 minus 4, which is really the same thing, we get 0. So when c is -2, our function is 0. C squared plus 2c is 0. Let's look at -1. So the function evaluated when c is -1. Everywhere we saw c, let's put a set of parentheses. So c squared plus 2 times c. And then we will substitute in -1 for c. And then we'll use the order of operations. -1 squared is -1 times -1, which is going to be +1. Let me just write it like this. +1 plus 2 times -1 is -2. So we have 1 plus -2 or 1 minus 2, which is -1. All right, 0. This one is going to be as smooth as the last one because both terms have c being multiplied. So we have f of 0. We're going to let c be 0. And we have c squared. So 0 squared plus 2 times c, which is 0. So 0 squared is 0, plus 2 times 0 is also 0. So 0 plus 0 is 0. So when c is 0, f of c is also 0 for this function. And last one, oops, do this one off to the side again. We're going to look at when c is 1. So our function evaluated at 1. And where we saw c, I'm going to create a set of parentheses. So we have c squared plus 2 times c, and then we'll substitute in 1. So 1 squared is 1, and 2 times 1 is 2. So 1 plus 2 gives us an output of 3. All right, I want to show you another method you can use for this problem, this type of problem. And it's actually using Desmos. Desmos can create a function table for you. It can evaluate functions. It can do lots of things. So we're going to complete the table. F of n equals n squared minus 6. And I'm going to open up Desmos, and I'm going to type in f of n equals n squared, jump up into the exponent, minus 6. A lot of times, Desmos won't love the variables. Like if it's a random variable, it might not like it. I oftentimes like to use x instead of n. So wherever I saw n, I would just replace with x. N, though, Desmos can work with. And to create a function table for this, after you've typed in the function itself, I am going to edit the list, which is kind of weird. But once you edit the list, it will give you the option to create a table. And the table will be based on the function, and it will allow you to even change the values of x, the inputs that you're looking at. So if you need to maybe look at -5 or +5, you could do so here. So here is f of n, our function, equal to n squared minus 6. And we need -2, -1, 0, and 1. So when n, or here it's using x, see, notice it kind of defaults to that. When our input is -2, the output is -2. And that makes sense. We see the point x is -2, y is -2 on the graph. When x is -1, y is -5. The output of the function is -5. When x is 0, then we have this output of -6. When x, or your input, is 0, that's the y-intercept of the graph. And then +1 as an input produces an output of -5. So we use -2, -5, -6, and -5 again. -2, -5, -6, and -5. So please use Desmos to help you, but I encourage you to try to do this by hand first. Really get into the habit of substituting in the values into parentheses, because there is a big difference between -2 squared with no parentheses and -2 inside of the parentheses squared. So please be careful when we are substituting, evaluating a function, we always put it in parentheses. Let me know what questions you have.